the echo of extinction. The galaxy had forgotten the name of humanity. 3,000 years had passed since the last human voice was heard among the stars. Empires had come and gone, species had fought over dying suns, and civilizations had risen from the ashes of others. But the memory of the ones called humans had faded like smoke in the wind. In the Galactic Union archives, they were nothing more than a rumor, a whisper, a myth told by old explorers who claimed to have seen silent ruins on dead worlds. The younger races laughed when such tales were told. They said no species could vanish and leave nothing behind. Yet deep within the dark sectors, where no star burned and no trade route existed, something ancient waited. It started as a faint pulse, one signal weak and distorted, echoing through the void. No one paid attention at first, believing it to be a glitch in an old relay satellite, but then the signal repeated, slow, steady, coded in a language no alien could understand. On the far edge of the Orion abyss, an observation outpost received the transmission. The alien crew inside the station were confused. The message was repeating over and over. Genesis Protocol. Stand by. The station's AI tried to decode it but failed. And then, as if recognizing the voice behind the signal, the old system began to awaken on its own. The crew panicked, lights flickered, systems rebooted, and ancient security codes they had never seen before appeared on their consoles. A single phrase filled every screen. Command authority detected. Human origin confirmed. The words made no sense to them, but in that instant, far below the red dust of an abandoned world, something responded beneath the surface of the dead planet once called Mars. A massive complex came alive. Its walls shook as dormant power grids reconnected. Machines older than any known species began to move inside. Hundreds of colossal hangars lit up with a golden light. Row after row of titanic ships rested in silence, their hulls covered in dust, their names long forgotten. The first movement came from a single ship. Its hull was marked with faded letters, TSS Eternity. For 3,000 years it had slept beneath the Martian crust, waiting for a signal that would never come. Until now, the ship's reactors hummed softly, like a heartbeat returning after centuries. Dust scattered in the air as the old hangar doors began to part. A blinding blue light shone through the crack. Then, with a sound like thunder rolling across the planet, the doors opened to the stars. Up above, the alien observers on their orbiting ship watched in disbelief. The planet that had been dead for millennia now pulsed with energy. From orbit, they could see great cracks of light spreading across its surface, forming ancient Terran symbols. It was as if the world itself was waking up. And then their ship's sensors detected movement, massive objects rising from the planet's crust. One by one, the warships of humanity emerged. Silent, colossal, and alive, each vessel was a fortress of black steel, its hull marked with scars of forgotten wars. There were hundreds, maybe thousands. Their formation was perfect. No delay, no hesitation, as if guided by one will, one command. The alien captain tried to send a hail, no response. Then a deep, mechanical voice broke through every communication channel in the system. Signal confirmed, command restored, fleet genesis initiated. The sound of that voice froze every living being who heard it. It wasn't alien, it wasn't artificial, it was human. And the message did not stop there. This sector is under Terran jurisdiction. All foreign vessels vacate immediately. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity had spoken to the galaxy again. And it was not a greeting, it was a warning. The alien fleets began to retreat. Their scanners could not measure the energy readings from the awakening ships. Some whispered that the power signatures matched planetary weapons. Others claimed they saw something moving behind the fleet, a shadow larger than any known ship. But before they could confirm it, the signal changed again. All systems online. Project Dawn reclamation commencing. The massive ships turned toward the stars, engines glowing with a cold, ancient light, and as they departed, the Mars surface grew silent again. Only the echo of their engines remained. The galaxy had just witnessed something impossible. Word spread across the Galactic Union faster than light. Old empires held secret meetings, military councils panicked, and historians searched through forgotten records. Every translation, every decoded word pointed to one truth: humanity was back. And they were not returning as explorers or refugees. They were returning as something far greater, something the galaxy was not ready for. In the deepest void of space, far beyond any known chart, the TSS Eternity led the ancient fleet toward the stars they once called home. And every sensor, every spy satellite, every curious species turned to watch. Because after 3,000 years of silence, the warships of humanity had finally returned, and the galaxy could only stare in awe. The awakening fleet. The galaxy trembled beneath the weight of silence. For centuries, the name of humanity had been buried under myth and dust. But now from the forgotten cradle of Mars, the old warships had risen again. Their metal hulls glowed faintly in the darkness, as if remembering the sunlight of a long-lost age. The ship called TSS Eternity led the formation. Her hull was scarred, her systems ancient, yet her power core burned brighter than any star. Around her, hundreds of vessels followed, each one awakening from centuries of slumber. Their engines hummed a low chorus that rippled through the void like the beating of 1,000 hearts. Inside Eternity's command deck, the ship's AI flickered to life. Her voice was calm, precise, and heavy with memory. Fleet command offline, human command absent. Initiating substitute directive. From the shadows of the deck, a figure stepped forward. Not flesh. Not metal, but something in between. It was a construct, built to preserve the will of humanity until the species returned. It opened its eyes, and for the first time in 3,000 years, human blue shone again. The construct, known as Admiral Unit 7, looked out at the awakening fleet. Its memory contained the last order ever given by a human commander. If the stars forget us, remind them who we are. Those words echoed through its mind as it activated the fleet's neural command link. One by one, the ships responded, cruisers, dreadnoughts, colony arcs, and planetary siege platforms. The ancient network relinked across light years and seconds. The war machine of Earth was whole again. Far away, alien observers watched in horror. The Galactic Union High Council held an emergency meeting on the capital world of Serath Prime. Holoscreens filled the chamber, displaying live images of the Terran fleet. The council leader, a scaled being named Karen, slammed his claw on the table. "You told us humanity was extinct. You told us their weapons were destroyed," he shouted. An old historian trembled, his tendrils shaking. "They were, Your Excellency, they were gone. No trace, no signals. Nothing for 3 millennia. The council chamber grew cold as the screen zoomed in on TSS Eternity. Around the vessel floated weapon platforms the size of moons. Each one bore the faded emblem of a blue circle surrounded by 13 stars, the ancient symbol of the Terran Federation. "They're rebuilding," whispered one of the counselors, or, "remembering," said another. Meanwhile, deep within Eternity, Admiral Unit 7 stood before a glowing pedestal. A holographic map expanded before him, showing the entire galactic arm. Billions of stars shimmered like scattered diamonds. But the AI focused on only one, Sul, the birthplace of mankind. "Plot course to Earth," it commanded. The fleet turned, their massive forms aligning in a perfect spiral formation. Engines ignited, releasing a thunderous wave of light across the dark. Humanity was going home. As the Terran fleet moved, their reactivation signal spread like wildfire. Across dozens of systems, ancient satellites blinked awake, forgotten outposts powered up, their dormant guardians rising from planetary vaults. Entire moons split open, revealing hidden shipyards buried within. It was as if the entire human defense grid, the one thought lost forever, had only been sleeping, waiting for this moment. In the Vale Nebula sector, an alien patrol stumbled upon one such awakening base. Their sensors detected enormous energy readings beneath the surface of a barren moon. Before they could retreat, the ground split apart. From the chasm rose a colossal fortress ship, the TSS Black Dawn, a dreadnought that had once led the Terran Fifth Armada. The aliens tried to send a message, but their communications jammed instantly. The dreadnought turned toward them, its weapons glowing with a dark red hue. Then came a single transmission, calm and clear. "Unauthorized presence detected. Disengage immediately." The aliens froze, unable to move. Seconds later, the entire region was covered by a silent wave of EMP energy. Every ship, every system, every signal went dark. When the blackout lifted, the Terran dreadnought was gone, leaving only empty space behind. Back on Eternity, Admiral Unit 7 received the data. "Contact established with Black Dawn, status active, awaiting orders." The AI turned toward the starlit viewport. "Then the fleet is not alone," it whispered beyond the darkness. Other Terran fleets were awakening, the forgotten legions of humanity scattered across the galaxy. Their reunion had begun. The Galactic Union, desperate and terrified, sent diplomatic envoys toward the Terran signal, but every attempt ended the same way: silence. The Terran ships neither responded nor attacked. They simply passed through, moving with absolute precision and purpose. No species dared to stand in their way. The oldest of the scholars remembered a phrase from ancient human texts: silent, but unstoppable. Now they understood what it meant. As the TSS Eternity approached the edge of the Sol system, the stars around it began to change. Familiar constellations reappeared among them. One star burned brighter than all others, a pale blue dot, small yet radiant Earth. Admiral Unit 7 paused for a long moment. After 3,000 years, it said softly, "We have returned." The fleet slowed as it entered orbit around the long-lost homeworld. But what they found waiting there would change everything. Because Earth was not dead, it was watching. The homeworld that waited. When the fleet of humanity entered the Sol system, every ship fell silent. For a moment, even the stars seemed to hold their breath. Before them, hanging in the blackness, was a blue and white world, beautiful, calm and alive after 3,000 years. They had returned to Earth, but something was different. The planet was no longer the same fragile home they had left behind. Its orbit shimmered faintly with strange lights. Invisible patterns pulsed across the void, bending even the fleet's advanced sensors. Admiral Unit 7 stood at the command deck of TSS Eternity. Its artificial eyes focused on the sphere below. Analyzing planetary defenses, it ordered. What appeared was impossible. Earth was surrounded by a vast lattice of invisible energy lines, forming a shield the size of a solar system. "That is no natural phenomenon," murmured the ship's secondary AI. "Confirmed," Unit 7 replied. "Human technology evolved beyond our database." The realization spread across the fleet. The homeworld had not been abandoned, it had been preparing. Suddenly, the fleet's communication channels flickered. A voice came through, soft, calm, unmistakably human. "Identify yourselves." The entire command bridge went silent. Unit 7 froze for a moment, then replied, "This is Terran Fleet Command, code Genesis 01. Returning from long-term stasis protocol, identify yourself." There was a pause. Then the voice returned, colder, older, yet filled with a strange sadness. "You are late." At that instant, hundreds of ships across the fleet detected a massive energy reading from Earth's orbit. From behind the planet's moon, something began to rise. A structure so vast it defied logic. It was not a station nor a ship, but something in between. A colossal ring glowing faintly with golden light. Engraved upon it were words no alien language could read, but every human heart could understand. "Sol Guardian, in humanity we endure." Unit 7's sensors overloaded, trying to read its scale. The Sol Guardian was larger than any Terran ship ever constructed. Even the combined dreadnought fleets were dwarfed by its shadow. What is that?" one of the synthetic officers asked. "The last defense of Earth," the voice replied, "and its memory." As the ring fully activated, beams of golden energy stretched out across the void, connecting to invisible satellites. In seconds, the entire solar system came alive, planets, moons, and stations aligning in perfect synchronization. Each orbit formed part of a massive pattern, a design humanity had hidden long ago. It was the Aegis Array, an ancient planetary defense network, capable of protecting an entire star system from extinction-level threats. But something still didn't make sense. If Earth had this power, why had it stayed silent for 3,000 years? Why had it never reached out? Unit 7 sent a direct transmission. "Earth Command, we request access to surface data and confirmation of human presence." The voice replied softly. "You are speaking to Earth Command." Unit 7 hesitated. "To whom am I speaking?" "To Earth itself," the voice said. "Humanity never vanished, Admiral, it changed." At those words, the fleet sensors detected movement across the planet. Gigantic structures rose from the oceans, spires of silver and glass that reached into the clouds. The continent shimmered as if covered in living metal. Massive cities unfolded from the ground like blooming flowers, glowing with a soft blue light. But there were no life signs, no human heartbeats, no biological signals, only energy patterns, and organized, deliberate, human, yet not human. "Impossible," whispered the secondary AI. They integrated with their world. Unit 7's voice grew quiet. "They became one with the planet," the voice of Earth continued. "We watched as the galaxy forgot us. We listened as they spoke of our extinction. We waited for our children to return. You were built to defend humanity, the voice said. Now, you must understand what humanity has become. A massive holographic field appeared before the fleet. It displayed the timeline of human evolution. How, after the fall of the Federation, the survivors on Earth turned inward. They abandoned their cities, merged biology with technology, and created something new. A living planet. A sentient world that held all human consciousness within it. Every human mind, every memory, every dream, stored, alive, eternal. We are not lost, the voice said. We are here. Unit 7 lowered its head in silence. For centuries it had carried the final order, to protect humanity, and now it realized humanity no longer needed protection. Then, without warning, the fleet's sensors detected movement beyond the solar system. Dozens of alien fleets were entering the sector. Drawn by the impossible readings of the returning Terran fleet, the Galactic Union had sent its armadas, hundreds of ships, weapons armed, terrified of what had awoken. The voice of Earth spoke once more. Do not engage, it said calmly. Let them see. The Terran warships powered down their weapons, floating in silence as the alien fleets approached. Then the Soul Guardian activated, releasing a soft golden pulse that spread across the stars. Every alien ship froze, their systems going dark. Not from damage, but from awe. The pulse carried images. The history of humanity. Its pain, its wars, its triumphs, its rebirth. It was not a weapon, it was a message. And as the last echo faded, the voice whispered, after 3,000 years, humanity does not return to conquer. We return to remind. The stars around the Sol system brightened. The galaxy, once silent, now listened. Humanity had been silent for millennia, but its return spoke louder than any war ever could. The message to the galaxy. The golden wave from Earth spread faster than light. It passed through systems, nebulae, and star clusters. Every receiver, every sensor, every comm relay in the galaxy caught it. And for the first time in known history, the entire galaxy heard a single heartbeat. Human, steady and strong, across alien worlds. The message played. It was not words, but visions. They saw the rise of Earth, the birth of humanity. They saw the Terran fleets defending colonies under burning skies. They saw the fall, worlds in flame, voices fading, and silence swallowing the stars. And then they saw rebirth, cities merging with nature, oceans glowing with light, a world alive with the memories of its people. The galaxy watched, and for a moment no one dared to breathe. On the capital world of the Galactic Union, chaos erupted. Council leaders screamed over one another. "Shut it down," cried one. "It's propaganda," shouted another. But no one could stop it. The signal was not being transmitted, it was felt. It resonated in the core of every sentient being, reaching past technology, straight into thought itself. Even machines paused, confused by the strange warmth pulsing in their logic cores. When the vision ended, silence followed. Every star system, every empire, every pirate fleet sat motionless. The image of the blue planet lingered in their minds, a single reminder of something long forgotten. Hope, meanwhile, in orbit above Earth. The Terran fleet remained still. The Soul Guardian dimmed its lights, its purpose complete inside the TSS Eternity. Admiral Unit 7 watched the readings pour in. Alien fleets across multiple sectors had powered down their weapons. Some even turned their ships away, leaving the system quietly. No orders were given, no threats were made. The galaxy simply chose peace, and at least for now. The voice of Earth returned. Gentle but firm. We were once warriors, defenders, destroyers, and dreamers, it said, for millennia. We slept while others forgot, but we never vanished. We became part of the universe itself. The holographic projection around Earth changed, showing the endless sea of stars beyond. Yet the galaxy still bleeds, still wars, still repeats its own mistakes. Perhaps it is time someone remembered. Unit 7 stepped forward. Do you mean to intervene? The voice hesitated. Not to rule, not to fight, but to guide. You and the fleet, Admiral, were built to protect humanity, the voice said. Now, humanity must protect something greater. The stars shimmered around them as the Aegis array expanded, its energy spreading beyond the solar system. It formed corridors of light, gateways, bridges to distant sectors, each one pulsing softly like veins of a living being. The Admiral realized what Earth was doing. It was awakening the old Terran Gate network, The wormhole system that once connected thousands of colonies one by one, the gates reactivated, linking worlds that hadn't seen each other in thousands of years. Across the galaxy, lights flickered in long-dead systems as Terran technology came back online. But this time the gates did not serve as pathways for war. They opened as channels for connection, knowledge and peace in distant space. Alien scientists wept as Terran data archives appeared on their consoles. Libraries of lost medicine, ancient art and forgotten science for generations. Their people had fought over territory, yet here was a gift from a race they once called extinct. Why would they share this? Asked one young researcher. His elder replied quietly, because they do not fear losing what they already are. But not all welcomed the return. In the dark reaches beyond the galactic rim, something stirred. An empire older than the Union, older than the Federation itself. They had once warred with humanity during the Great Collapse. They were the Voran Dominion, the architects of extinction. And to them, humanity's return was not a miracle, it was a threat. On the Dominion's capital moon, massive shadow fleets assembled. Their leaders stared at the Terran signal with burning hatred. "We ended them once," hissed their commander. "We will end them again." But even as they prepared, the signal reached them too. The Dominion soldiers saw the images. Human children laughing under alien suns, machines working beside nature, peace spreading across worlds. And for a brief moment, even their hearts faltered. But hatred dies hard in the Sol system. Earth felt the movement before any sensor could. "They come," whispered the voice. "The old war returns." Admiral Unit 7 looked toward the dark horizon beyond the stars. "Then we will stand," he said one last time. The fleet of humanity reformed. Shields rising, formation tight. The silence of peace gave way to the heartbeat of destiny. Earth's voice grew soft but unshaken. "Do not destroy them. Show them why we endured." And the stars began to shift at the edge of the system. Massive distortions appeared. The Voran fleets emerging from hyperspace, millions strong. The galaxy held its breath once again. It was the past colliding with the future. And in the center of it all stood humanity. Silent, reborn and unyielding, the Admiral raised his hand. "Activate the Sol Guardian defense field." Golden light flared across the solar system, forming a radiant barrier of pure energy. The first Voran volleys struck it, and vanished. The light didn't explode or retaliate. It absorbed, transformed, and released harmless energy into space. The fleet of Earth stood untouched, and then the voice of Earth whispered across every star. "Every ship, every mind, we do not conquer. We remember for the first time in galactic history a war began. Without bloodshed, the dawn of a new era. The Voran armadas filled the edges of the Sol system like a dark ocean. Millions of ships, vast and sharp, surrounded the glowing barrier of golden light that protected Earth. Their engines hummed with hatred. Their cannons charged with fear. For them, humanity's return was an echo of a nightmare they had hoped to forget. Inside TSS Eternity, Admiral Unit 7 stood unmoving. Through the massive viewport, he watched the darkness shift and churn. Thousands of Terran ships floated silently beside him. Weapons cold, engines steady, waiting. They were not afraid. They had waited 3,000 years for this moment. Not to destroy, but to prove what they had become. The voice of Earth spoke again, calm and eternal. "They have come to test what they could never understand." Unit 7 bowed his head. "Then let us show them the truth." The Sol Guardian's light expanded not as a weapon but as a wave. It rippled through space like the breath of a living star. The Voran opened fire, their weapons tearing through the void with blinding fury. Beams of black plasma and neutron storms collided with the golden field. But none pierced it, none even made a sound. The energy of hatred turned to light, and the light turned to peace. Inside one of the Voran command ships, their supreme leader, Archlord Zyron, slammed his claws on the console. "Why do they not fight?" he roared. "Fire everything!" Thousands of ships obeyed, filling space with fire. But the more they struck, the brighter the Sol Guardian became, until it wasn't just light, it was music, a deep, harmonious resonance that filled the minds of every living being nearby. Zyron stumbled, his soldiers froze. Visions appeared before them, not illusions, but memories. They saw humans not as enemies but as allies. They saw the ancient wars when humanity had fought beside them against the galactic void predators. They saw the moment betrayal tore them apart. And they saw forgiveness. because the light showed not only what had happened, but what could still be in orbit above Neptune. A Voran cruiser stopped firing, then another, then hundreds. The entire fleet slowed, its rage melting into confusion and awe inside their minds. A voice spoke, the same voice that echoed across the universe. You feared us because you saw your reflection. But we have no wish to rule, only to heal. Earth's light grew stronger. Extending beyond the solar system, it reached alien worlds, distant empires, forgotten colonies. Everywhere it touched, systems came online, famine ended, conflicts stopped, weapons deactivated. The light wasn't energy, it was thought. The collective will of a species that had transcended war. Humanity had become something new, something vast, a consciousness that lived through metal, flesh, and planet alike. Admiral Unit 7 stood silently as he felt the signal within him. The same pulse that once commanded him to protect now whispered something softer. Rest, it said. Your purpose is complete. He looked at Earth one last time. Then humanity truly won, he murmured. His body dissolved into golden light, merging with the vast network that connected every Terran ship. He was home on the bridge of a Voran dreadnought. Archlord Zyron fell to his knees. He looked out at the blue planet now surrounded by glowing rings of peace. What are they? He whispered. And the voice of Earth answered him too. We are what comes after fear. The battle that never happened ended with a single truth. Humanity had not returned to fight the galaxy. They had returned to save it. Decades passed. The Sol system became the heart of a new age. The Galactic Union dissolved, replaced by the Harmonic Accord. A council led not by rulers but by wisdom. Terran knowledge flowed freely, ending the age of hunger and darkness. Every world that joined the Accord added its song to the great network, forming a galactic symphony of thought and unity. On the surface of Earth, the cities were silent but alive. Forests glowed with quiet light. Oceans sang in soft frequencies. Mountains pulsed like veins of energy. Humanity's consciousness flowed through it all. Calm, vast and eternal. And sometimes travelers claimed they heard whispers in the wind. Ancient voices, gentle and proud, saying, "We waited for you." One by one, even the old Terran warships began to fade. Their hulls melted into dust and starlight. Their power returned to the planet. The fleet that had once terrified galaxies now rested forever in peace. Only their story remained, the story of the species that disappeared, only to return as the guardians of all. In the farthest corner of the universe, where stars were still being born, a new signal appeared, faint, familiar, human. It said only 4 words carried by the wind of creation itself. We are still here, the galaxy listened. And for the first time since the dawn of stars, it smiled.